What's up, everybody? Good to be back after I have no clue what in the world that was. But nonetheless, we're back. OBS is fixed. All my files are back where they belong. So it's time for another episode of Sports Talk with Hawk. Today we look at the Texans. If you remember at the end of the Packers snapshot, I said it's a team that very much resembles what the Packers are. I consider these two teams the exact same in their individual conferences. So what does the future of the Texans hold? Well, let's find out. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to look at the Houston Texans, a team that I am all too familiar with being in the AFC South. But I have to admit, they turned around the way the franchise was going. They made one of the most critical moves you can make, which is a move that some franchises need to make this year. They moved off of Deshaun Watson, got a haul of picks for him from the Cleveland Browns, redid everything, and then drafted their new starting quarterback, Stroud, and then mortgaged the next year's first-round pick to get their stalwart on defense, Will Anderson. They are not a stranger to getting top-end defensive talent. I was watching some of the old Colt games the other day. Mario Williams, J.J. Watt, DeMeco Ryans, top-end players. The Texans have had them multiple times. So I like where this team is going, but there are a couple of red flags that I think we may have to look out for. Really simply, the number one red flag is they don't have much cap space, which means they really can't be a player in the Myles Garrett. They really can't be a player for Cooper Kupp. They're going to have to figure out how to get some money. Now remember, there is going to be roughly $20 million more. I'm saying 15 just for safety. So they will end up with about $21 to $25 million in cap space after it's all said and done. But it is kind of a worrisome thing when you have got that low amount of cap and you really do need to improve the team. Let's look at what the stats were last year, which is going to kind of be telling of why they fired Bobby Slowick. I thought, now granted, 1 year I don't normally go off of for offensive coordinators. But C.J. Stroud's rookie year, Bobby Slowick looked much better. Without an offensive line, Bobby Slowick looked lost. He wasn't bootlegging Stroud. He wasn't moving the pocket to keep Stroud protected. He kept doing straight dropbacks, which I know DeMeco Ryans. Now remember, DeMeco Ryans had Kubiak, he had Bill O'Brien as head coaches. Guys that would move the pocket if the offensive line couldn't do anything. Sage Rosenfels started while DeMeco Ryans was playing. Matt Schaub. Guys that were good at bootleg throws, giving them a half the field view with 3 receivers in it. Make the throw. If it's not there, throw it away. Hard running game. I think the Texans are going to go to a heavier run, which means better play action. Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, I think really have big years next year. We'll see what happens. I like Michi as the slot guy. I think he's just kind of that tweener. He's got the burner speed. He did prove valuable at the end of the year. Tank Dell, I feel bad for the guy. 2 injuries like that now, it's really hard to come back from. And now you've got the injury label, so it's going to be hard. But listen to where they were, offense and defense. Offensively, they were 22nd in the league at 320 yards a game. Passing, they were 21st in the league at 207. And they were 15th in rushing at 113 yards a game. They averaged scoring 22 points per game. So, respectable-ish, kind of just mid-level. Defensively, DeMeco Ryans has his unit. 5th total defense in the league at 315 yards a game. 6th against the pass at 201 yards a game. 11th against the run at 114 yards a game. And they also averaged allowing 22 points per game. Now, the turnover differential, this is where it matters. This is why they win the division and they're in the playoffs. Plus 10 turnover differential. 19 interceptions by that defense. 19 interceptions. I know a bunch of them went from Jared Goff. I get that. 10 fumble recoveries. And even with how bad the offensive line was, it's not like Stroud was just throwing balls up. There was only 12 interceptions and 7 fumbles by the offense. So it's not like this team has an issue that can't be corrected very quickly. Let's go to the free agent table here and look at the Houston Texans free agents. They've got 26 of them. As you see on the screen, 21 of them are unrestricted. They only have 6 picks in the draft, so we'll see how that plays out. These are their current free agents. So we have Stephon Diggs, who I don't think he was making $22 million. It ended up being like 30, I believe, after the signing bonus. I don't believe they can really bring him back. They may not. I'm not sure. Deontay Johnson, not coming back. Robert Woods, I like him as a veteran in the room. If you can get him for really cheap, I'd keep him. Jeff Okudah, the corner, I would definitely keep Okudah. I believe you need to keep this defense intact. You have the number 5 defense in the league. It's a defensive draft. You only got 6 picks. And there is a very, very big need on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think you can afford to lose guys like Okudah fully. You can lose Jerry Hughes. He's older. If you can get him for really cheap, you can keep him around. Deshaun Phillips, the linebacker. Neville Hewitt, the linebacker. Derek Barnett, the defensive end. Eric Murray, the safety. Chris Boyd, the corner. Mario Edwards is also a free agent as well. So they've got some free agents that they're going to have to make decisions on. The biggest thing, though, for this team is the offensive line. The offensive line has to be fixed. And I know this is going to, it's going to completely sound like an oxymoron. I know this is going to sound like an oxymoron. But I would float Laramie Tunsil out on the market. And here is why. The draft itself isn't that strong. I would not trade him to a contender. But let's say a team, let's just pick the Raiders. We know they're probably not going to be able to pick a quarterback. We know their position isn't great. We know they have cap room. If you could trade Laramie Tunsil, get their draft pick to be able to move up, you then have 2 first-round picks. Your ability in the draft kind of just changed. You can pick one of the top-end, cheaper offensive linemen, save that money, and then you can also do what the Texans have done really well, trade up again a little bit later. And by a little bit later, I'm thinking maybe you go after Cincinnati. Maybe you go after Miami. Multiple picks, Miami trades back. This is going to get really interesting. Side note, and we'll get back to the snapshot. I told you guys this is going to be a wild off season. In the last couple days, Matthew Stafford, now the Rams want to keep him. I understand this. But Matthew Stafford has been given the ability to figure out what the trade value is for himself with other teams. Cooper Kupp is going to be traded. We've known that for a while. Debo, we've known that for a while. Myles Garrett has requested a trade. Andrew Berry is trying to keep on the stance of we're not trading him. You guys know my feelings on this. I think it's a huge disrespect to Myles Garrett. If they don't, he understands they're not going to win, and there is a certain point where you've got to look in the mirror. This is not the draft where Cleveland gets to bounce back. This is not that draft. Next year is. Jonathan Allen, the defensive tackle from Washington. I was talking to one of my buddies this morning. I told him, I told you a couple weeks ago, one of the two defensive tackles in Washington are out. Deron Payne is going to be a little bit cheaper. Jonathan Allen's a little bit more expensive. He's been given the ability to seek out a trade. Harold Landry today, right before I went and made the podcast here, Harold Landry from the Titans has been given permission to seek a trade. I told you guys, this is going to be wild. So don't just negate any ideas when it comes to trades right now. The Texans trading Laramie Tunsil, I know what everybody's thinking. That's his blind side. That's his blind side. Did you not see him at the end of the year? Laramie Tunsil was getting beat. He's getting older. But a team that just needs that solidifier on the offensive line, somebody that they can believe in. He's going to be good 80% of the time. It works. It absolutely works. The Texans have to basically redo, I'm going to say, they've got three places on that offensive line. 3 positions of the 5 on the offensive line need completely replaced. With that being said, why not go after something? Trade Tunsil. See if you can get a pick. You're probably not going to trade him back to Miami. I thought about that option. It wasn't going to happen. But, what if, let's go here to the Texans here. So they've got the late pick. Boom, 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 boom. So what if they trade to, let's say the Chicago Bears. They've got cap room. They're sitting there at number 10. Trade up to 10th, get an offensive lineman. And then on top of that, you then trade up to, let's say, why not? Trade up to where the Commanders are at, let's see. Trade up to, trade up to where the Cardinals are at 15th. So that's my idea. Trade Laramie Tunsil. I don't think the Saints are going to move off. The Panthers, we saw, spent so much money last offseason. You may be able to get the Raiders at 6. That's a possibility. That's a real possibility. I don't know if the Jets are a possibility, but you could float it. I think you float that idea. And I think maybe you float Tank Dell. He's been injured. His value has dropped. But I think you have to float Tank Dell. Because Nico Collins is definitely your number 1. But you're going to need other receivers. I think you're going to need to bring in a couple other receivers. I'm not sure where they go. The cap room issue is going to be huge. That's why I say Tunsil. CJ Stroud is still free. They've spent so much money on the defense. At this point, trade Laramie Tunzel. Trade up as far as you can. If you can get up there, if you can get the Bears at 10, if you can get the Jets at 7, take it. And then trade the 25th pick up again. Trade up to Cincinnati at 17, Arizona at 15, and get another one. I think they can get 2 really, really good offensive linemen. I really do. I think they can get 2 really, really good offensive linemen. They could change everything. I mean, literally, they could change everything. If they play it right, if they play it right, they could get Josh Simmons from Ohio State, and then they may be able to get Booker from Alabama as well. Fill out the tackle, fill out the guard. Now, you'd have an all-rookie one side of the offensive line. So what? We've seen it work before. If they come in together and they practice together, it normally works pretty well. I think that's what they got to do. I don't see any other trade that they really need to make. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, that entire defense, I think it's important. I really think that that's what has to happen. But for right now, I think that's the trade that you do. And we'll see what happens. Now, with the way that everybody's doing stuff, I would probably wait till the second week of free agency, because you're not going to know exactly what the value is until some free agents are off the board. But I think you may have to move fast at the same time. It's going to be a cat and mouse game, that guys. March is going to be interesting. Speaking of which, so we'll close it out this way. I know I rambled about the trades and different things that are happening. That's kind of where we're at. Everything is heating up now. The combine officially started today. I love this team. The youth, the way it's been built. I love DeMeco Ryans, the head coach. I believe he is the next defensive head coach, true defensive head coach, that has the shot at winning the Super Bowl. I guess Sean McDermott is technically a defensive coach too, so his shot's better than DeMeco Ryans is. But I think Sean McDermott is because of more of Josh Allen instead of with him, because he's been out-coached so many times. DeMeco Ryans doesn't get out-coached easily. And I know you're thinking, well, they just got beat by the Chiefs, but he wasn't out-coached. I hate conspiracies, but I watched all the games. Patrick Mahomes lost a lot of respect from me. Now, I didn't really like him to begin with, and I've got a view on Patrick Mahomes when we do the Chiefs Snapshot that's going to absolutely probably set the world on fire. But I watched that game. The Texans knew, don't touch Patrick Mahomes. And it gives you a ginormous advantage when you've got a guy who's acting like LaFlop from the NBA now playing quarterback. Sorry. The Texans played a very good game. The game plan was solid. They knew what they needed to do. The execution wasn't horrible. The offensive line just was not good enough. They fixed the offensive line, and I think they are in the same spot as the Buffalo Bills, but with a much better defense than the Bills. And defense, as we saw, can carry you. And I think the Texans' defense is really, really good. In the AFC, as far as defensive coaches are concerned, McDermott is probably number one because of Josh Allen. But DeMeco Ryans, I believe, is the best young coach. He is absolutely a player's coach, and I love him. So, I've got this. Because we missed 2 days, we are bumping right up against when the new league year starts by doing one a day from here until the league year starts at March 10th. Which, yes, is the tampering period because it doesn't technically open until the 12th, but let's be honest, The 10th is when we're going to get all the news. So here is the plan, because I do have 2 separate podcasts that I want to release before the new league year starts. Okay? So the plan is I only have to do this for two days, and it's going to be this weekend and next weekend. So a total technically of 4 days, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. There will actually be 4 podcasts released between those 2 days. So Saturday 2 we're going to release, and then Sunday 2 will release. That way we have the time for me to get the other podcast, because I've got 2 separate ones that I want to do, 2 separate episodes. We will have time then to do those 2 before the league year kicks in. So that is my plan. Not sure what happened. It happened sometime Sunday night. The files just all disappeared. Opened up OBS and stuff was gone, and I had to redo everything. Now with that, I redid the close. So now you're going to hear, you got roughly a snapshot from the beginning of the song for the anthem, and now I've got a close with the anthem plus the stadium graphics that used to be on the audio only podcast that I would do. So I am excited about the close. The close is brand new, redone, and tomorrow is tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. So tomorrow we will be looking at the Seattle Seahawks. Friday we should be looking at the Minnesota Vikings, I believe. Let me check here. Got everything all planned out. Yep, we got the Vikings. And then over the weekend, we will actually be doing the entire AFC West, minus the Raiders because they're already done. But we'll get the AFC West done this weekend. As always, appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you so much. It is really exciting. As we get closer and closer, all the different stories come out. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow as the different combine interviews take place. Chat about that. We'll go over the Seahawks snapshot, see what they need to do this year to improve and possibly get in the playoffs in the NFC tomorrow. I was talking to my friend this morning, and he suggested that I change my sign-off because of something that I always say when one of them gets off the phone. Every single time when my buddies gets off the phone, I go, make it the best day you can. Have a great day. Make it the best day you can. So, from Hawk to you, have a great day. Make it the best day that you can. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe, please. Like the podcast. And ring the notification bell if you want to be notified every time one goes live on the channel. For Sports Talk with Hawk, I'm Hawk on a gorgeous Wednesday. And I'm out.